What I'm going to do, I'm going to show the slides first, and then we can go ahead and discuss more later on in with the questions, because I have. Thank you for answering the questions and the survey, because that was very helpful to know what to focus on for this session. So let me see if you can see here. Or let me see if I can share. All right, let me go to this screen. All right, can you see me okay, or see the slides okay?
Yes, I can see it, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
we can hear.
All right. Okay. So I'll go through the presentation now, and then we'll have the questions at the end. All right, so wonderful. So I am Yadi, and I'm here. If you see here, it's sunny because I'm on the other side of the world here. Great to meet you. An honor to be with you, all students at the school, and I am very happy. I am here in Tampa, Florida, in the United States. So I'm very excited to talk and get to know you as well a little bit. So I am an organizational psychology practitioner, and what is that? So it's I usually work with a lot of different teams, and it's a discipline that I study to help organizations become better, and also know what are the things that are needed for teams and organizations to work better. So I have been working a lot with different teams, technical teams, different teams around in the US that pertain to military organizations. So what I do is to help them organize and work better together. And about 5 years ago, I launched a podcast, Hardcore Soft Skills, which was a my intention to learn more about the so-called soft skills that we'll talk about, and also to share what I learned with other people. And I have listeners from 50 countries, so that was very exciting for me to share my knowledge. And since then, I have been doing workshops, some courses. I have one on LinkedIn Learning that I'll share the link with you, and about persuasion. So today, I'm going to share with you a little bit about these skills. And also, if you haven't had the opportunity to read the book, just hopefully you can have the chance to read a few items there, because the intent is to help you do better at your career. So I want to share first that thank you all for answering all those questions for the survey. And you'll see that in that survey, the main question was, what is your main challenge today? And the majority of you said managing my time. It's a problem I have too, as well, in terms of managing the time. So I'll share some techniques for that. Promoting work, we'll talk about that too, and coming up with good solutions, which is always a problem when it comes to working with teams and solving tough problems. All right. So first, as you know, you're probably all in the careers, in technical careers or other careers, and you'll realize that these are, for any career, we need soft skills. But what are soft skills? So these are known as the human-centric skills, power skills. It's all those skills that we learn on how to work well with others, like communication, collaboration, all these things that may not be like, for example, if you work as in the medical field, you're a doctor, you have to know a lot about science, but you also have to learn a lot about how to talk to people and explain complex things. The same working in the technical field, you may know a lot about coding, but also you need to be able to figure out how to work well with others. If there's conflict, how to solve it better. So that's the part of that a lot of the times they don't teach us these things in school about these other skills. And my message is that these are teachable skills, and that you can continually practice to learn them too. So, and the difference when we say soft skills versus hard skills. So hard skills are skills that are like learning languages. If there's hard skills, objective skills, meaning that, for example, medical field is it requires a lot of the hard skills. Learning how to fix houses, build houses. Those are all very specific hard skills. The soft skills, they could be applied to any job. They just are the skills that we need to work with people and to manage ourselves better too. So I'll show here and I'll pause on this slide so you can see that the step that you're taking today to learn a little bit more about soft skills and the need to focus on the skills is so important because these are the skills for the future. You'll see I took a report from the World Economic Forum and I was looking through it and realized that a lot of the skills for the jobs of like 2030, like even 5 years from now, we know artificial intelligence is changing a lot of this, but if you know that the skills that will make us succeed are these soft skills. For example, if you look at number two, resilience, agility, knowing how to be adapt to different situations is a skill because we can learn it and it's very important. Leadership, even if we think like I'm not leadership material, I don't want to be a leader, we're all leaders in our own specific fields, and learning how to become a better leader is better for you as well. Motivation, motivating others, it's so tough, but we need to be able to do that if we know how to manage a team. The same with empathy is a skill, is something that yes, we could be learned with more. Some people are more empathetic than others, but empathy meaning that how do we try to put ourselves in the shoes of others and know from their experience also requires practice. So as you see, all these skills are very important for the future. Now I'm going to pause here. I know I've said a lot and see if there's any questions so far.
Not really, ma. From my side, not really.
Okay, wonderful. All right, I'll go. So let me explain a little bit more. And then, as I mentioned, I really want to get into your questions to kind of give you what you need now because you probably have things that are worrying you. And I want to make sure that I answer those questions. So, this is the framework that I have that I taught in my book about learning soft skills. So, one is the importance of connecting, communicating, collaboration, and correct. And I'll explain each one. For example, connect, it refers to the part of connecting with ourselves and then connecting with others. So, for example, getting self awareness refers to like knowing myself. What am I good at? What things do I like to do? So before you practice anything else and start collaborating a lot with others, it's very important to know what am I really good at. Same with like building relationships, networking, as you're doing right now. Probably a lot of your classmates you didn't know before. So you're connecting with them and building those relationships, what could help you in the future, because then they could tell you about jobs or opportunities or things to learn about. So we're importance to be constantly connecting with others helps our careers too. And empathy, meaning that we in our jobs serving customers, so we have to really understand what their problems are. What are they, as we try to develop solutions for them or create campaigns for them, we need to know what do they care about. So these are all very important skills, and there's more, but this is when I refer to talking about connection. So connect. Self-awareness, identifying your strength. Either are you good at coding? Are you good at developing, coming up with cool messages? Are you good? So try to identify, look at yourself, what are you good at? And if not, also ask the people that know you and that like you and say, hey, what things do you think I'm good at? So they may see things that you don't even know that you're good at. They could say, hey, you're amazing at building things and or building specific items. So it's very important that you ask others so then you know, you realize the things that you didn't know you were good at, that you thought like, yeah, of course everybody's good at that, but that may not be the case. The same with empathy, as I said, if you're serving customers, understand the needing of others. And networking, it's important to build the relationships like you're doing here. Now I'm connected with you. Now I know that I could introduce you to other people. So that's very important. You build a network of people. And if you're on LinkedIn, like some of you are, then you continue connecting with others and building those connections. I'm going to pause for questions before I move to the next one. Oh, I didn't hear, but I guess no questions. All good.
No question from my side, ma'am.
Mhm.
Yeah, me for now. Monsieur.
Okay, wonderful. All right, let's go to the next one. So we talk a little bit about skills to connect. Now I'm going to talk about communication. That's so big because we're communicating right now, and we communicate through text. We communicate through one-on-one when we're talking with our sisters, brothers, parents. We communicate with all the time. So in order to communicate, to have a good career, no matter your career, communication is like the number one thing that you're going to be focusing on a lot. And it's very important to be a good listener. It's so difficult because when we speak with people, we want them to know what we're thinking about. But taking a pause and listening to them really helps us communicate much better. The same with practicing public speaking, as you're probably doing in the school, presenting your campaigns or new things. That takes a lot of practice, and it's very hard to be a good public speaker, but practice is important, and that's how you get better. Same with writing, especially now that we know artificial intelligence can do a lot for us. I always advise people to go ahead and say, hey, I'm not going to use AI now. I'm going to write something and explain, like summarize an article or book, because that helps us think more. That's why it's very important to practice all the skills. So for listening, for example, quick tip for listening is that in order to listen to people, instead of waiting for your turn to talk, take a pause when somebody's explaining something to you. Take a pause and then respond or repeat back what the person said. They're saying something to you and you say, well, if I hear you clearly, you're saying that I need to do XYZ or blah, blah, blah. But just to, as a practice, I do that a lot because sometimes I hear people and I understand something completely different. And when I repeat back to them, it had nothing to do with what they were saying. So it helps me practice a lot the listening part. Public speaking, you may do that all the time as you're showing your products. So make sure that you practice. If you have to give a presentation, regularly practice the message. You don't have to memorize, just have to be able to explain things in a clear manner. Think of one of two key points. That's a technique to become a better speaker. In writing, as I said, just practice writing without the use of AI so you can become better at explaining the big things in simple ways. All right, this is just a little bit about the communication skills. I want to see if you have any questions before I continue.
No, ma'am.
No, yeah, thank you. No, from my side.
All right. All right. And two more C's here that I want to talk before we get into the questions, which is collaborate and create. So we connected with people, we own ourselves, we are practice our communication. Collaboration and creation refers to a lot of the things like solving problems, finding the right problem to solve, creativity and productivity and managing time. And this is what I'm going to talk about, time management. So let's talk first about problem finding and problem solving. I work in an environment where I work with a lot of people that create very cool tech solutions. But here's the thing. Sometimes they create solutions because they think they're cool and great, but they forget to really focus on what problem we are solving. They try to create a cool application, but the problem that they were trying to solve is not there. So that's why it's important that as you come and create new things, campaigns, and others, that you think about what is it the problem, really find the problem that you're trying to solve. Come up with it. The root cause refers to asking, like, even though the person says, for example, hey, I need to solve this problem of access to this application, then figure out what could be the problem of that, like how, what things do you try to do, come up with a lot of questions to ask that person to find the root cause of a problem. Now, creativity is a skill, very important skill, because you can start, sometimes we tend to focus a lot on the work without thinking of creative ways to solve it. So one thing that I invite people always is to be curious. And instead of approaching your day like, here are the things that I have to do today, you can ask yourself instead, What am I curious about today? What do I want to explore? Be curious all the time, ask questions, because that will help you become a better problem solver. Now, when it comes to productivity and time management, distinguish what is urgent from what is important. And I'll explain here. So this is Eisenhower was a former U.S. president, and he was famous because he said this quote that says, "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." Seldom refers to like rarely. So what is important is rarely urgent, and what is urgent is rarely important. So that means that sometimes when we think there's something very urgent, it may not be as important in the big picture of things. So I invite you to think of what are the things that are really urgent and important in your life. For example, if you have a big project to complete that's very important for your career and your job, and it's due tomorrow, then that's definitely urgent and important. Now, if you have an important project, but it's not due until like 2 months from now, it's important, but it's not urgent. So prioritize this thing first, and then try to focus on the other one, which is an important project. Don't wait for the last minute, and then do it in a planned way. So if it's something that is urgent but not important, like perhaps it's something that, hey, you need to make a call, but it's not that important to do right now. It's like, well, you can delegate, give to somebody else, or do later after you do the most important thing. And if it's something that is not urgent, not important, then try to remove from your calendar and focus on the important part. So another tip for time management. These are techniques that I talk about in my book that I want to help you think about, and I want to see what questions you may have. So for example, one method for time management, if you think you have a lot to do, like you have school, work, family. So 3-3-3 method. Of course, focus on the most important things, like if it's your family, if it's taking care of yourself or others, focus on those things. But when it comes to work, 3-3-3 method, meaning you try to do 3 urgent tasks first, then you focus on 3 hours on doing a big project. As an example, you can reduce to 2-2-2, like 2 urgent tasks, 2 hours on a big project, and then 2 hours for maintenance, meaning that other stuff that is not a big project, but stuff that you need to do, then you can focus on that. That's just one technique. Then Pomodoro technique is another famous technique, which is that if you have difficulty focusing on doing on something, like I have difficulty focusing for a long time in a task, I take 25 minutes of doing focus work, and then I rest for 5 minutes, because that helps me keep focus and not think like, oh my God, I have like 3 hours to do this, and you waste a lot of time. And another one is time blocking, which means that you block the time to do the work in different things. Oh, give me 1 second. Hold on a second. I'll be right back.
Guys, while Miss Yadira is going to come back very soon, I just want to reemphasize the importance of this session. As I mentioned in the chat, please keep all cameras turned on. This is something we know by now. And for this session particularly, there would be a reflection story that you would need to post, and we will be offering an official letter of good standing for the best reflections. So it's important to be sunk in here, as well as the facts that we are taking the best students that finish this course, which obviously is the content creation course, from the grading and from the report. I'll tell you guys later. Thanks, Yadira.
Sorry about that. All right, let's go back real quick. I was talking about some of the techniques, and now with those techniques, I want to see if you have any questions about any of these techniques for time management.
Miss Yadira, I just wanted would you mind please shedding some more light on 3 hours for maintenance? Would you mean maintenance on the project, and what exactly would that entail?
That will be, for example, things along that is not about an important project, but maintenance could be like other things that you have to do regularly. Like, for example, if you work in an organization and you're doing a lot of different work on that, there's part the project work, and there's also like taking care of users, customers, and other things, or doing sales calls, things like that. That things that have nothing to do with the big project, but that you also need to do every day, like answering emails or making phone calls, things along those lines will be like, and that method, the hours also need to be exact. You could do like 1-1-1 or 2-2-2, but that's what it refers to, like at least just to keep it balanced. You have like these one urgent task and then do 1 hour on the project and then the maintenance, like, oh, calls, taking care of emails, things like that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. It does. It does actually. Thank you very much. And I just wanted to mention, if you wouldn't mind, there is going to be an internship for the best students after the end of this course. And so Miss Yadira's course material is very important because, as you guys know, in the internship, you have to apply these skills when working, because you're going to be communicating with us in admin. You're going to be communicating with media team, especially you guys that are content creators now. So just keep in mind, and if you have any questions, about this, because you will be applying it in real life, then feel free to ask, because really it's a very important aspect that you need for sure. Thank you, Ms. Yadira.
Okay, no problem. All right, wonderful. Good to hear about the great, exciting work. All right, now we've talked about, and we'll talk more after if you want to know more about time management, but I'll finish the C's because we talk about connection, communication, collaboration and creation, and now correction. That refers to the. Oh, oh no, okay. So that refers to the ability to kind of continuous learning and solving when things don't go well. So, for example, adaptability. For example, if something changed, like for example, in my current organization, there's a lot of changes happening. Teams are shifting. So it's very important because we're going to be in places that there's constant change. So we have to practice the skill of becoming good at adapting. And one technique for that is to just be ready for new challenges and find a positive in these new things instead of complaining, or let's say, instead of thinking like, oh, change is going to happen and think of the worst, think of what could be the good thing about this change and that could help you adapt better. Mentorship, especially right now in your careers and that you're early on, and as you continue, always find mentors. And always, I'm sure some of you already, or all of you, are mentors to others. So finding mentors doesn't mean going to somebody and say, hey, you want to be my mentor? It could be simply like, hey, that person could teach me something about this thing. Let me ask them a question about that, or dedicate some time to learn with that person. The same with do that throughout your career, because people enjoy sharing their knowledge, and you will learn so much more that way for mentorship. Now, in terms of emotion management, that refers to when things get tough or when we get angry and things happen, it is important to practice the skills to manage our emotions. So, for example, to release stress, if we get too stressed and we think that we're going to explode, find alternatives to release it. Go outside, do some exercise. Or also if you feel angry or have a big emotions, one quick technique that psychologists suggest is to name that emotion and say, hey, I feel angry, I feel frustrated. And just recognizing that first will help a lot to then help us deal with those emotions. So emotion management is not easy, I can tell you, but if we practice it regularly, we can become better at that, especially in workplaces. One last skill when it comes to correction is conflict management. In the workplace, I see a lot is that people either think conflict is a bad thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Conflict is actually could be a great source for innovation. So, but we have to distinguish into what is a good conflict versus a bad conflict, and I'll explain here. So a bad conflict is like, people don't get along, they're calling themselves names, insulting each other. That's a bad conflict. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen, or that we don't take part in those bad conflicts in organizations or anywhere. So we want to make sure that when it says conflict, it means that we perhaps may disagree on how to solve the problem, have different ideas, But that's okay because we can respectfully discuss those ideas, address it up front. Don't stay quiet, just address, hey, I see you have a different idea. Let's try to solve the problem together. So conflict is good when it comes to focusing on the problem, or not when it focuses on a person, say like, oh, this person is terrible and bad, talking bad about each other. That's not a good thing. But good conflict is encouraged because it helps with innovation. All right. Want to see if you have any questions on that before I move to your questions.
Joy, I think you mentioned you had a question. John, you mentioned something you may ask Miss Yadira now.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Joy, you want to come first?
No, you can go first.
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. I really appreciate your time once again. My question is, there's a part we talk about practicing our pitch regularly. I would like you to shed more light and how can we put that into action practically, practicing our speech. And by the way, I'm not sure if I'm doing well. I can't see your screen again. Apparently, I can't see your screen again. Thank you.
Okay, so more, that's a great question about practicing our speech. I'm thinking, for example, if perhaps you may have to give a presentation about a product, and maybe as an example of that. So if you know you have to give a presentation, make sure that the first thing you need to prepare is like a quick, try to think of the quick message for the product. Like, hey, here is my presentation about this solution that, and then explain what good will that solution do for the audience. Like, for example, I have this new application that I developed, and before going to explain, for example, all the technical details, talk about the things that you think the audience will care about. Like, hey, I have this application that's going to make it so much easier for you to order food or something like that. So think about a simple pitch of a message of like, think first, what will the audience care about when it comes to speaking in public? Like, what do they care about? What do they want to know? Because I could talk about myself all day, but what will they want to know about this? And keep it simple. Think of 2 key messages or 3 key messages and practice upon that. So always keep it simple. Think of a clear message that the audience will care about, and just continually practice. Instead of memorizing a whole speech or reading, think of simple things that you want to talk about that solution. And again, something that the audience will care. Does that answer the question, or does that help?
John, are you with us? Does that answer your question? Are you with us? She just answered your question. Do you have any other questions?
No. That was clear and detailed. Thank you, Ma.
Okay, no problem. All right.
Miss Yadira, sorry, John mentioned that he couldn't see your screen. I'm not sure if it was something from him, or I can see your screen pretty well from me. And I think, Marvelous, can you see Miss Yadira's screen? Joy, can you see before you ask your question, Joy?
Yes,
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, I think it must just be John who's not able to see. I'm not sure. If you don't mind, would you please reshare
yeah,
if
let
it's
me start
possible?
sharing and reshare. And what I'll do also, I'll make sure that that I give you the presentation as well. Let me see, and I'm going to send it
Thank
to you right now before I continue. Let me send it to you just to make sure that as we continue, Alicia, and I'll share presentation. And let me go ahead and send the file before I forget. School presentation. All right. And I'm sharing. Okay. And I'm sending it to you right now. And then let
Thank
me
you
go
very
ahead and reshare on the screen. All right. Let's see. Let's see. Let me know if you can see it on the screen.
I can see your screen perfectly. John, can you see her screen perfectly? Marvelous, Joy.
Yes, you
I
can
can see it, Ma.
All right, perfect. And then if you receive the presentation, then you can pass it along to the students, and then let me know if you have any questions as well. I'm going to go into the part of your questions, and you probably have more, but at least these were the ones that were submitted via the survey, which thank you again for taking the time to answer those. All right. So I see one question was that in the whole process of building my online presence and portfolio, how do I know if I'm just being noisy and stagnant? All right, so that was a great question because that's the part when it comes to when we share content or we are sharing what we do. This is why it's very important to connect. So, aside from sharing what we're doing and sharing what we have, reach out to those people who you're sharing with and connect with them. Say, hello, hey, I share this either post or I'm sharing this demo of this thing that I'm working on. I'd love to hear your opinion. And then you reach back specifically to them, and that's how you get a lot of responses. Because sometimes a lot of people see and they don't reach out to you to comment on anything. But if you seek that feedback, that will be very helpful to know, like, is this helpful or not? Or if they say, oh yeah, I saw it, and they don't really engage, then you probably need to think of different things to work on. But that's the part of what is important, not just posting or sharing stuff, is to reach out to people and say, like, hey, I really want to know your opinion about something, about this that I'm sharing. Is this good? What would you suggest? Now, any questions on that, or does that answer that question?
Yeah, I still have another
Yes.
question on that particular one. So you said we should reach out to them and ask, but is it like privately or just a whole, or should we like private chat them and ask them their opinions on the particular post?
Yeah, so it could
Because
be.
most times, when you,
Oh,
sorry, because
oh no.
most times when you post on the social media platform, they just view and then ignore. Just few of them give feedback.
Yeah, that's very true. And that happens to me a lot too, because I'm like, the people, are they liking, or they just say thumbs up, or they don't even even give it a like. So that's what I do. And when I post something, if I really want them to have any opinion, you could put it on the post. And even when I ask the question, sometimes they don't say, like, I would say, hey, I have this new technique for time management. What time management techniques do you use? And I don't get any responses. It's like, okay, well, that happens. But a lot of the times, what I will do is like, hey, I would like to know your opinion on this post, and they will share that post with them. I love if you have some feedback. So you could target a few people that you really want their opinion without like sending them a lot of info. But you could, every time you post something, ask for feedback. Hey, I love to have your opinion on this, and reach out to a few people, and that's how you start getting and building connection there. Another thing that I do that has helped to kind of that reciprocity is that I will comment on the posts of other people too, because then that helps create the conversation. So I see something, and instead of just liking, I say like, oh yeah, this is great, and kind of try to have a conversation that way. And that helps, so then they feel the need to reciprocate, and then they will comment on your things too. But it just takes time. It's just consistency to you could do a little bit every day, and that's how you start building some feedback, because a lot of the times it's like people, you think they're nobody's seeing something, but they are. Does that help?
Mm.
I couldn't hear, sorry. Does that help?
Yes, yes, a lot. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. All right, wonderful. I'll go to the next question, which is, how can I leverage on my skills to start earning from it? So that's a big question too, because in one thing that leveraging your skill is identifying what are you good at, not just on the soft skills, but on the hard skills side, identifying what you're good at. And if you really don't know, you can ask other people that have worked with you or people that are your friends and ask them what are you good at, and identifying what are your strengths and identifying problems to be solved. That's very important. For example, in the case of some people that see like, I could solve this, I know I am great at creating summaries, or I'm creating, I'm great at building Excel tables or things like that, then you know there are people that may need that problem, and you know them. Then you can reach out to them and say, hey, I could solve this problem for you. Just start identifying, and of course, don't ask for money or anything right away, but just start identifying those things that you know you are good at, and try to solve problems along those lines. So that's a way to kind of like leverage both of your skills. I want to see if that answers the questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Let's
Thank
go
you.
to the next question. How can a leader or CEO balance the time spent on his personal growth with the time spent on company's growth? All right, so that's a great question, because it's important to define first what are the company's goals. And as you see what are the company's goals, you realize that they align with your own goals too. So define what are the company's goals and your personal goals too. You identify what are where do they match? Because you realize if you're a CEO and you want to become, for example, create awareness of your product, then that forces you in the individual side to become a better communicator. Well, I need to be a better communicator or reach out to people more. So I'm going to practice that skill of becoming a better communicator as I talk about my company. Or I need to be able to grow the earnings of the company. So that means I need to make more sales calls. So to make more sales calls, I need to become better at selling. So that kind of goes hand in hand, that you think about your company's growth, and it's also helping you grow as an individual if you're a CEO, to gain those skills that will benefit not just you, but also the company. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, wonderful. The other question is, what strategy can a leader use to resolve conflicts amid staff in a company that it won't end up in a way that she is taking sides? That's very tricky, because having a conflict in my own teams, it's very important to not take sides right away, to listen to the to different sides of the situation, and instead of focusing on like who's right or who's wrong, don't focus on that. Focus on like what was the source of the issue, what was the problem that we were trying to solve, and then see both sides, because usually it's a problem of there was a problem. Somebody had a different approach to solve something, and you focus on like, well, I see you recognize both sides, and see, I see that you wanted to solve it this way, or I see that you have this other way. Now, how can we focus on solving the problem? Or perhaps if there's just always try to focus on the problem itself. Never take sides or talk bad about the people on either side, even if you perhaps inside of you, you know, like, yeah, this person is not right, but don't take sides, and always try to focus on the problem. At times it will be tricky and difficult, but very important to maintain some sort of in the middle kind of approach as possible. Unless, of course, if somebody said something was disrespectful to the other person, if that's the case, then you need to address right away with the person that did the wrong, that they could recognize, like, hey, insulting per people or screaming at people or just saying it's being respectful is very important. So always try to be focused on the problem, but if there are things that are personal, try to make sure that you take action right away. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes.
All right.
Thank
Yes,
you, ma'am.
thank you very much.
All right, next question. Can you please explain the idea of voluntold that you were describing in the book? Thank you for that, because now in my next edition, I want to make sure I clarify that, because I work in the world of the military, and that means that when it's a combination of the words volunteer and told what to do. So in the military, they would say like, I was voluntold to do this. They say like, well, you're volunteering for that, but really they really want you to do it. So it's like, I'm a volunteer. So that's what it refers to. But thank you for that, because I needed to make clarify what that means. Does that answer the questions?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
All right. Next question. What words of alignment do you have for a quiet person that aims at building a global company, not necessarily an introvert, but just want to be by himself. Well, I understand it's challenging because a lot of the times we'd rather be like, I don't love to go to like big events where I have to talk to people or things along those lines, but I always bring it back to what is it that I have to share with others. If you are building a global company, you're building it because you know there's a solution that you want to bring out there to the people. So it's not about you, and it's about making sure that others know about this great solution that you have to bring. So make sure the message is share your talents, share your solutions to help people. And that could help you at least be a little bit more out there, even if you prefer to just be by yourself. Make deliberate effort to make sure that, hey, I have to go to either a big event or I have to be in this room with a bunch of people, but it's not about me. I have to do it because the solution that I'm building, it's very important and it needs to be seen by the world. And the only way to be seen by the world is that you're out there sharing it with others. And even as you grow your company and you can hire other people to do that for you, then absolutely. But in the meantime, if you're starting, always make sure that it's not about me. It's a solution that I know it's great for the world, or it's a talent that I have that I need to share with the world. So in order to do that, I need to get out of my comfort zone and be able to share it with others. Does that make sense? Or does that answer the question?
Yes, so much, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. And I think that a couple more questions, and I'll be open for more too if you thought of new things. So how can I improve my time management skills? So I show the techniques, but very important as you manage your time, the first thing that you need to do before you play around with the calendar, with different tasks and activities, think, what is really important to me right now? What are the priorities? Sometimes we don't stop to think about that, and you just do the first thing that came about. Take time to look at the week, for example, and think like, what things need to be completed this week, or taking care of all these things. But also make sure you make time for yourself. Don't forget about taking care of yourself, doing exercise, or taking care of family, spending time with friends and loved ones. Just allocate those times and make sure that you have those times committed for the important things. And then you kind of play around with the calendar to figure out, okay, I need to focus on this project, so I'm gonna do a technique I use is time blocking. It's like, okay, I know on Tuesday afternoon, I must work with what I have, and whatever I can do in 3 hours, I'm gonna do. Don't try to be a perfectionist, because if not, you'll spend a lot of time doing something, but at least try to dedicate time, focus, and whatever you finish during that time, do it. But very important to have your priorities clear first. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, but let me see to that question, because I was opportune to assist someone for a project management job, and it was very toxic because after presenting like what I will do for the day, my tasks for the day and everything, urgent tasks keep coming up. So at some point, manage my time. I was lagging behind in studies, and because the project management task was way too much. So in that scenario, what do I have to apply?
I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat? I'm sorry, because I don't, it could either background noise. Could you repeat just to make sure that I answer the question?
Okay, let me
Joy,
come
could you do
again.
it in a
Can you hear me
clear
now?
background noise, the background noise, Joy, a little bit?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, I said I was opportune to assist someone for a project management job, and at that time the tax was way too much, and I couldn't manage it because I was also lagging behind in my studies and personal stuff. So with that scenario, how can I manage my time there, or what technique can I use for that?
So project, and if you heard it, Ms. Habibi, could you go ahead and explain? Because I think
Sure.
it's related to project
Yes.
management. Sorry about that.
I will I'll explain Joy's question. So she said she was working on a project management task while she was also schooling, and she would do the task, I think, and then the tasks would just be coming up. And it got too much for her, and she didn't know how to handle it. And I think Joy stopped the project management job she had to focus on school. So she's asking, how can she manage such a situation? Joy, I don't know if I helped translated that question for you. I think, yes, she said.
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's the part of when you have multiple things going on. What I do, one thing I do is to plan for the week if possible, like perhaps in like throughout the week, like either Saturday or Sunday, plan out of what are the top things that you need to do for that week on all the areas. So if you have the bucket or the area of the project management task and then the stuff for school, plan it out. And I use like stickies or paper to plan out what really needs to happen that week. So I try to focus on identifying those things that are really, really important for the project management task and for school. And once you identify those very important things for each, and on other stuff, perhaps you have another bucket, play with your calendar and see like, okay, I could dedicate this whole like Tuesday afternoon for the project management task so I can finish it and make sure if that's priority. Before school, for example, you could try to focus on finish as much as possible, not looking for perfection, but just looking to at least something that you can accomplish. And for school, like what are my homeworks for the week? I know may not be perfect because my time may be limited, but at least what are the things that I absolutely need to do for school this week, and kind of look at it that way from the big picture, because you go day to day and try to accomplish each thing day to day, that could be hard. But if you look at it on the weekly basis and focus on doing like the minimum for each, you could get a little bit better at managing the time there. It's not easy because it could be a lot, but if you spell out all those things and really look at what do I really, really need to do in order to accomplish those things, then you see if that could work. So does that answer the questions, or does that help a little bit? Is first thing, not looking for perfection, and also really looking at the big picture, like looking at a weekly basis instead of like, what do I have to do today? Think for the week, so then you can play around with the calendar. And if you have time on that Wednesday to be like, hey, I already finished my project stuff, now I'm really going to focus on school, and really prioritize, put out all the tasks and prioritize what's really important. That if something is not done, it's okay. It will be okay, but at least it's something that realizing that you may not be perfect in all areas, but at least you accomplished what really needed to be done. Does that help?
Yes, ma. But the actual issue was that the urgent tasks for the project management job was coming too much, and it collided with my other personal tasks and activities. They had lots of urgent tasks. Like after writing up and listing my tasks for the day, they see bring up most urgent tasks again. So those ones are not usually planned.
Okay, so it becomes too much. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay, I was asking if you heard my question.
Yes, yeah. So that it became too much with the project management side. And in that case, if it becomes too much that it's just not possible, then you have to either make a choice of either reducing the amount of work on one side or on either side of things. So if you really have tried to make it work on both sides and it didn't work out, even after applying, like trying to spend good amount of time or time blocking, or some of the techniques that I've shared, like either you tried time blocking or you tried prioritizing and doing the work and it still wasn't enough, then of course you have to drop some things and not to do them. Perhaps it could be that you focus on school, but it could be like, I don't know, or less classes or less work or something like that, or reduce the work on each side. It's not going to be perfect, but at least try a couple of the techniques that I've shared, either time blocking or the 3-3-3. If you try at least a couple of the methods and see when you feel like you have a lot, and see what may work. Because it could be the case that sometimes we just put a whole lot on our plate and it's just not possible to complete it all. So try some of the techniques and see what happens as you come and have more work next time, but very important to prioritize. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And it's not easy, yeah, but it's but at least if we try some of the techniques that helped me a lot, because I thought I like I can't finish all of this, but like if I did time blocking for a lot of this, and I focus on, for example, I'm gonna do this work for a customer in 3 hours. Whatever I had on 3 hours, I completed it, and it was fine. I really wanted to continue working on the thing. It's like no, 3 hours and done. So that's the technique I use, but you could use whichever you may like.
Okay,
All right.
I have a question, ma'am.
Yes.
Concerning the work done and the perfection. What can you say about maybe a graphic design that your work had to come out well, or probably someone doing, they ask you as maybe a remote job, or your work had to come out well, but you have a limited time, and maybe at the end of the 3 hours, your work is not yet good. What can you say about that, man?
And make sure I understand. So if you have a specific work in graphic design, you mentioned that it's remote. Could you repeat? Just make sure.
Yes, ma'am. Graphic design. I say take for an example, graphic design, and which your work had to be perfect, but you have a limited hours, and you've exhausted the hours, and your work is yet to be perfect, ma'am. So how can we, I was asking concerning perfection and time management, ma'am.
Yeah, and it depends because if you feel like that's one alternative for that, if you're doing graphic design work and you could split it out, for example, in different in blocks, like instead of sitting down to complete the whole work at once, you could do like, okay, 1 hour I'm going to do what can I accomplish today, then I'm going to continue in the thing tomorrow, and you kind of improve. So you don't have to sit down at once and do it all, and then perhaps the product may not be as you want it. So if it's time blocking and you have a deadline and you have to submit the work, then you just have to submit what you have. But if you feel like, hey, in order to do a better job, I really need to either spend more time or split my time more, then you to try to focus on giving something that is quality, but also that you can finish within an amount of time. One technique I have also used, if it's a graphic design work for a customer, a lot of the times, or for applications or things like that that you're working with a customer, you could do a little bit like a what we call a minimum viable product, like the minimum, and see like, and then show to the customer and get some feedback, and that could help improve and iterate for improvement. So it's just dividing it in chunks instead of sitting down at once to do all the work. Try to spend time like each day or each like a morning, afternoon to do some of the work. So that's it. But if you really care about the work, of course, and making sure it's quality, try to dedicate in the time blocking part, like, okay, I have to cut time on this other thing because I really want my product to look good. So let me cut time here and make sure that my product looks good there. So different techniques that you can try, doing it little piece by piece, or making sure that you share with the customer, so see how it's going and you can iterate from that. And also, if not, if you really want to make sure that it's a good quality and you don't feel good and the time is up, then try to cut time in another area to focus on the product itself. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome. All right. And one question here: how can I intentionally develop soft skills like communication and emotional intelligence in a measurable way, not just theoretically? Great question, because a lot of the times we could say like, I need to improve on my soft skills, but that's so huge and big. So what I do is try to focus on one skill per week or one thing of a skill. Like communication could have so much, but I could say, well, you know what? I don't think I'm such a great listener. Let me go ahead and just this week focus on really in the next try one technique in my conversations with people. What I'm going to try this week is to repeat back what they're saying to me or pause before I respond. So pick one specific skill and one technique that you're going to try. And that's for communication, for example. If you say, hey, I really want to try to become a better public speaker. So what are you going to do that week? Practice a speech. Focus that week on drafting the speech and practicing in front of the mirror, in front of your friends. So that whole week, you're going to focus on your pitch. So pick a small thing and pick one technique that you're going to try. For emotional intelligence, for example, if I get angry all the time, it's like I want to scream. I get angry and I feel like, very like I want to scream at people, for example. So I say like, okay, I know I have a bad temper. So emotional intelligence, what I'm going to do, I'm going to try like every time if I start feeling angry, I'm going to breathe 3 times and breathe. And just a simple exercise of like breathing and taking the time and practicing throughout the week, because we don't think about it, then it becomes a habit. So just different things, try one skill and one technique for the week, and then you could continue building upon that. But it really takes an effort to make sure that you become better at each one of the skills, because you cannot do it all at once. But at least you should say, I'm going to try this one technique just the whole week, see how I do. And then you start noticing improvements, and then try different thing another week. So that's a kind of very specific way for you to make that a habit of becoming better at a skill. And also then you can continue building upon building more skills. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Yadira, I had 2 questions. I don't know if I can ask
Yeah.
them now.
Yeah.
I had one question to follow up from Joy's question. When she mentioned the project, she would get tasks that are unexpected, from what I understood, out of the specified work tasks that she usually would get from certain work. Is it worth it to speak to the people in charge and tell them that, ask if politely can, reduce workload? Obviously, that's not a good idea in a workspace, but would it be worth speaking in a certain way to them so that you want to express that you want to do your best work, but may require a little bit more time? And also, or would it be worth it if you can just do the work that you're being assigned? Obviously, you have to be a multitasker, especially now with the saturated job market. Someone could tell you, well, if you're not happy, you can quit, because there are many people that are looking for that job. So would it be worth it to do the work to a certain degree, maybe not to perfection, as she mentioned, and then submit it, and then ask for redo it, like, or maybe just improve on corrections, because you are expecting them to say that you need to correct so and so you will improve on correction by new time? And that's one question I had. Another question is, as a content creator, do you think there's one soft skill that content creators need to have, especially now, to stand out in terms of understanding the audience that you create content for? Whether you create video, or even the audience, as one of the students mentioned, that you post on social media. And to get that engagement, is there just that one skill that you should work more on as a soft skill to improve as a content creator? Because there's so many content creators, and you want to stand out, you want your work to be heard, and you want to communicate with people, but how do you do that? Like, how do you get people? I know there's marketing skills, but I think this is more of the soft skills that you mentioned, that you need to have some sort of emotional intelligence. Those are the questions I had. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I'm so glad that you mentioned in the previous one, because I failed to address that part, because sometimes we have somebody in the project management task, like people will keep throwing work at us, and it's like, no, it's just a lot, and you only have certain hours in the day to complete everything. So it's important to push back a little and say like, okay, these are, for example, you could seek out whoever is giving you the task, let them know, okay, great. I see I had this task planned for today. Now you're giving me more tasks. And as you say, the quality of this other task will suffer, because these are the tasks that I was planning for today, and I am not able to complete these others, this other task, new task that you just gave me. So, because if you keep saying yes, 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 then a lot of the times it's going to be like, okay, that either you won't be able to do it, you will get too much stress. So it's important to have those conversations and say like, with that person that's giving you the task, and say like, hey, I have these 3 tasks that were very important for today. Now, if you're giving me new tasks, which other of these 3 tasks, which one do you think are not important, or could we remove? Because I only have the time to do this 3 or 4 tasks, and have that conversation with the person. Because otherwise, again, they'll just keep throwing stuff at you, and then it is important for them to understand that you cannot do it all, or the quality will suffer. So having that conversation of like, okay, you're giving me 2 new tasks, What things do I need to remove that if I'm not able to complete today, that will be okay. But even if they don't give that to you, you seek out that feedback. That's a great way to do that because again, it's difficult and they could say like, well, you won't have a job. Well, you just have to deal with the reality of like, hey, I could do it all, but then the quality will be different. Does that answer the question there, or is there something else that
Yes,
help with that?
perfectly. Yes, thank you.
Great, yeah. And I'm sorry I didn't address that before because that's very important to prioritize and say if the person's giving you more stuff, like when I speak with the customer, it's like, you just give me 3 new things. Now, here's the 5 that you gave me. What's number 1? What's number 2? What's number 3? And it helped that conversation. So for the part of the skills that content creators need to have, it's a lot about really understand. There's 2 things. There's so many that we could have. But first, understanding the customers, understanding what the empathizing with them. What do they care about? What are they listening to? What are the things that they like? But it's very important to develop our creativity and to develop the creativity. I know it sounds very like a lot, but I think looking for inspiration in different places, like looking for consuming different books, looking at content from others, and that could help us span new ideas of things of creative ways to solve problems. So I think being curious is very important. I think that the key skill here is curiosity. Curiosity to know what the other people want, what the other people care about, and curiosity to also know what's out there. What are other things that people are building, doing, so you can gather that inspiration, the knowledge of the customer, and the inspiration of what's out there. So practicing our curiosity every day, consuming new things, things that may you think have nothing to do with what we're working with, but also being curious about what the people care about and what other people think about. It's what's going to really keep us into developing better products. And I think curiosity, let me see if that was one of the skills that was from the World Economic Forum, or creativity, that was going to be very important. See, curiosity and lifelong learning, that's one of the key skills to become better content creators. Does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you. It does. It does. Thank you very much. And so the curiosity would be lifelong learning. Would it be like something you can also incorporate in like storytelling? You know how they say storytelling is a very important aspect and people relate to it a lot. So would it be something where you could create a content that's wrapped around storytelling, and perhaps the first few seconds would be something that drags in curiosity from the viewer looking at the content?
Yeah, no, that's a great way of like, also as you create content as a content creator, that you put something out there, like driving that curiosity, not only you being curious, but also like, how do you create that others to be curious about what you're creating, either through a story, either through like an image or a concept, or it's like a big question mark somewhere. So you could think of different ways of building, like of having other people curious about your content, because it's difficult right now in the sense that there's so much content out there. So catching the attention of people right away becomes a really important skill. So how do you increase the curiosity from others and you yourself being curious too? So that's a great point.
Thank you. Yes.
Want to see what other questions you have. I think those were the questions that I had for today. Any other questions?
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. My question is, you talked about not always trying to think and write, not always depending on AI assistance to. What are the practical steps to it? Because something you have been used to, just an AI to do this very fast, and now you want to start thinking to do it in a more efficient, so that you can read as you think. So what are the practical steps to that?
To become better writer, it's I use AI a lot. I must say, like I'm a avid user. Like a lot of the things to save time, I do all these prompts in AI to write reports or things like that. So I think it's important. It's being a consumer to be a good writer. it is good to be a reader all the time. So read a lot of content. And I know when we look at social media or other things, we become like easy, like we are not used to like reading like long tests. And I've been lost a lot of the time in terms of like, I need to read more. So I think in order to become a better writer, you have to consume more long form, long text to kind of get more familiar with storytelling and things along those lines. Use AI, of course, but also practicing what I was explaining. Like if you, for example, read something, then think, okay, I'm gonna just write either by hand or in my computer. Let me just do a quick summary of what I just read, or a quick summary of what I learned today in this class or in others. And that helps you kind of, the act of writing helps develop new connections in our brain, because it helps us to really think through and explain concepts and concentrate. So it's not easy to write like a paragraph. It's very difficult. So I invite you to take the practice, like if you read a good book or read something or try to explain, develop a new for example, new content, then try to explain it in words. So just taking that practice a little bit each day, reading and writing could help you become a better writer, especially when it comes to like storytelling, keeping your language simple. So those are just techniques to become a better writer all the time. Read, write just like quick summaries of things that you learn about during the day, or reflections of the day. That will help you become a better writer. But of course, you can use AI. It's just that a lot of the use of AI at times will impede us from really understanding a concept. Does that answer the question?
Yes, ma. Yes, ma. That answers the question. Thank you, ma. My last question for tonight. I don't know if we still have time. So I have an idea. I want to build something. I want to write a story around a particular place, and I need to talk to somebody like a mentor, like a leader, like somebody experienced in the field. How do I keep my idea safe from being snatched? I don't know if you get that. How do I keep my concept safe without being snatched? Thank you.
I didn't hear that last part. Could you, let me see.
Sure,
Okay.
Miss Yadira, if you want, I can what
Yeah,
John
yeah,
said.
please. Sounds
Okay,
good.
I hope I get what John said. So John said if he had an idea and he wanted to debate on it or talk to like a mentor or someone who's experienced in the field about his idea for something, how is it possible that he can talk to them, but at the same time make sure that his idea is kept safe to him, like copyrighted to him, and not being snatched by the other person? Like the person would steal his idea and then go into them doing it like it's them, meanwhile it's his original idea.
Yeah, that's unfortunately that's not easy, and that's not something that could guarantee that the other person, even if you ask them, like, "Hey, I would like to share this idea, but please could you not share with others?" You really have no much control over that part. So I think that's why it's important to have perhaps good find mentors that we can trust, that we know as a absolute or possible that they will not share that particular idea. So I think that will be it will be difficult to do, but at least try to find a person that you can have trust in. But unfortunately, there's not really much control that we can have on that end of having the if we request to a person, they could say yes, but then they will go back and turn the idea around or use it for them. So one thing I do advise is that if you have ideas, try to make it as quickly as possible to just share them as and don't wait too long on an idea. Just try to execute and share it with the world as much as possible, because once the idea is out there, then you can build upon it. But fortunately, there's not much aside from if you ask the person, they could always kind of perhaps take it on. So I rather put it out public, so at least you could trace it back to like, hey, it was my idea, and put it in a post and have more people share on it.
Thank you, Ms. Yadira. I just wanted to build on John before he confirms his answer. What you said. Is it possible to create like a non-disclosure agreement and have the person sign it that way legally bound to, or would it look somehow
Hmm.
in that?
I
Yeah,
was about asking that.
oh, go ahead.
I said I was about asking that a non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, for that, unless you have like a contract with someone that you're paying that person to be like perhaps you paid somebody for a service that they could be like coaching, consulting, giving a person like for example, if somebody comes up to me like, hey, I want to have a conversation with you, but first you need to sign a disclosure agreement. I wouldn't take it well. I would be like, probably I wouldn't receive it necessarily well unless that person is like, oh, it's a service I'm providing to them that they're paying me or something like that to share the idea with me, and I need to sign an agreement. I don't think it will necessarily be seen in a with a good positive way unless you actually have a contract with that person to say, hey, I'm gonna pay you to be my mentor on these specific things. But first, let's sign an agreement. So there will have to be a contract between the two of you or the parties involved, so you can provide them a non-disclosure agreement.
Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you. I definitely think, I don't know about John, obviously he has to confirm. I think what you said about the posting the idea, maybe not directly, but maybe in a vague manner on a public space would sort of attribute it to you, being that you can always go back and say, well, I did that in the first place. And then you get like, and it's even better, like John is looking for opinions, because if you post it in a public space where there are these experts that could give you good feedback, I think you get like a lot of opinions. And at the same time, they don't really know exactly what you're thinking, but you're building towards the like elicitation in your mind, building towards what you wanted. Thank you, Ms. Yadira, again.
Okay, no problem. All right. Any other questions before we close? And if you have questions after this, Ms. Alicia, just send us over to me. I'll be happy to answer them too. If you think of other things, I share the presentation so you can share with them as well. So I'll be happy to answer more. But let me stop the presentation here. Thank you so much for, it's been just, you all have great questions and fascinating work that you have a lot of things that you're working with, and great that you're learning with the school. So I really have, it's an honor for me to be speaking with all of you and to learn from you, and that you are there. It's the evening and you're awake listening to this. So thank you so much for your attention as well. So connect with me on LinkedIn and I'll be happy to answer questions and provide information too.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
Thank you. It was a very nice session. Thank you.
It was so good talking to you, Ma. Thank you so much. Thank you for giving your time to this. We are
Thank
grateful.
thank you so much. Did you took a photo or a screenshot already? I don't know if you did.
If you want me to, I can actually. And if you would like
Yeah.
to, anyone, I can take it and you can take it as well. So I just wanted to let you know, Ms. Yadira, that these are very ambitious students, all of them, and they would be, if it's okay. You remember I said we wanted to do a little short story, short content on your book. We can send it to you for you to have a look and see, to give your opinion. This is actually something Nazli Tech School is going to task these students with, especially the ones that have performed overboard, with creating a very enticing short story telling based around your book in a real life situation. And I can share it with you once they have it ready, so you can give an opinion. And hopefully we're planning on sort of publishing it, and with your opinion and permission, and yeah, and sort of seeing their work as content creators as well.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. I look forward to see that. Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me see. I want to take a screenshot on my Mac. Let me put the presentation up here real quick. No, yeah, I'm very happy about that. And I look forward to for that. Let me see. Oh, I'll put, although I like to see everybody, I don't know, some of you may not have the camera possibility, but let me go ahead and share here. All right. All right. 1, 2, 3, smile. And one more. Oh, let me see. I think, oh, done. And one more. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Miss Yadira. Have a great night. Thanks everyone for being here. I'll talk to you guys again on WhatsApp. The admin will talk to you guys. So just keep on your portfolios, your YouTube channel, and look for tutorials if you need help. Thank you very much, Miss Yadira. I'll send you an email. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Take care. All right, guys. So guys, again, I don't want to keep anyone. It's already late. We'll send you what's up on the things that follow. Obviously, you know, portfolios are due, YouTube channels due. The dates for that would be, let you guys know, maybe in 2 weeks, I think they will let you know. We are going to take the best students for internships, and these internships will be, we will allocate for you video content work, which we pay $20 per hour for you to do. And if the demand is high, then we retain you on that. So it's like a freelance thing, but we want you to practice your skills and build yourself professionally with us, and at the same time help you in the way we can to get you started in your professional journey. So you just make sure your work is complete and make sure you're doing what you're asked to do, of course. And I think that's pretty much it. If you don't have any questions, John, any questions? Joy, any questions? Marvelous, Soleil?
I mean,
Yes,
you
I'm
promised to
listening,
put
John.
us through. Yeah, you
On the
promised to
what?
put us through on our portfolio. I don't know how to start, where to start from, what to do. Are you going to communicate that to us later?
Yes. So what I told Sule was I did tell you a little bit about your portfolio and showed you an example for students that do it on Google Sites or Blogger. However, if you guys want to learn more about how to do your portfolio, I'll ask the admin team to get good tutorials, because I can't promise time after this session, but I will ask them to get you good short tutorials on YouTube to help you put you through. And I'll show you guys, I think they will post actually an example of the tutorial of the past alumni that have finished this course, so you guys can see and have an idea. But you have two options. It's either Google Sites or it's Blogger. These are the free options. So I'll send these, tutorial videos to help you guys, but that's the best I can do. You really need to push out from your side as well. That's the whole point of actually getting the points to be the best student in this course. So John, hopefully that answers your question, but I can't do any other session from this session, unfortunately, but I will try my best to give you guides through the tutorials.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
John,
ma'am,
is that
Thank you.
okay? All right. Okay, you're welcome, guys. Take care. John, is that okay?
ma'am,
Yes,
thank
go
you
ahead,
so
Marvelous.
much.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
so much.
Marvelous.
Thank you so much, Miss Alicia. Thank you for your labor. Thank you for the teaching. Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome. I look forward to seeing those students who are going to be selected for internships at Nazli Tech School. And I wish you all the best in your journey as AI content creators. And I'll speak to you guys hopefully soon on WhatsApp. Have a good night, everybody, and take care. And don't forget your tasks to get your final certificates and letter of good standing. Have a good night. Take care, everyone.
Good night, ma.
Good
Good
night.
night. Take care, Joy. Bye-bye. Take care.
Slave.
Good night, John. Good night, Marvelous.
Good night. Good night,
Good
Joy.
night.
Take care. See you. Take care, guys. I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to stop the class right now. Okay.